Wouldn't it be nice if Adam Sandler didn't count the dates up all so wrong? And wouldn't it be nice to talk together in a format that goes way too long? You know it's time to rewind, baby, for 19 dates of this movie with Drew Barry. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Good morning, listeners. It's another beautiful day here on It's Time to Rewind. I'm your host, Bubbawheat, and joining me today is my guest, Curtis Bloes. How are you doing today?
I am doing magnificent. I'm so happy to be back talking with you again, Bubbawheat. All of your podcasts are amazing. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And this season we are discussing, what was the movie again?
50 First Dates.
Oh, right. Well, actually, it's 19 first dates, and we are going through them one date at a time. And this week's date is what I'm calling their 13th date, because it's their 13th interaction, and I would call it their 8th actual date. And it starts at 66 minutes and 13 seconds with There's Nothing Like a First Kiss, and it ends at 66 minutes and 29 seconds with a pan out to a shot of a lighthouse. So before we get into this very short date, I do have to ask you, what's your experience with this movie and with Adam Sandler movies in general?
Well, okay. In recent times, I think I was pretty convinced of the theory that Adam Sandler and crew were making movies just to have a tax write-off. And that's movies Jack and Jill or whatever, Pixels or whatever.
Yeah, either a tax write-off or a vacation.
Yeah, or a vacation, right? Or both.
Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced that's what he was doing ever since about Click. It seems like Click broke him, and from there on he just made vacation movies. A little bit of comeback with the murder mystery movies. I like those. It seems like they're trying again.
Yeah, I like the first one, and then the second one I didn't even realize had come out until Netflix released their viewing data from the first 6 months of 2023, and I saw Murder Mystery 2, and I was like, I didn't even know that came out.
Right, I did. Well, I knew it came out. It was featured on my Netflix home screen. It was like, oh, Murder Mystery 2, and we were like, well, we got to watch this immediately, and we did. Not as good as the first one, but still seemed like they were trying, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
We were watching a real movie, not just a collection of scenes that they filmed while they were on vacation somewhere. In contrast, 50 First Dates, I think, was Adam Sandler at the height of his power. The fact that we buy him as a romantic lead in a rom-com is just incredible. Imagine what they did to make that happen. But in a lead with coming back with Drew Barrymore again. Oh, this movie to me is one of the is it one of my Desert Island discs? I don't know if it is. It's one of my Desert Island rom-com discs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I ugly cry every time I watch this movie. I love it so much. Especially when near the end where I don't know if I want to spoil. Especially near the end when there is a reveal. It's just like, oh, my heart is just breaking. I just love that these two got back together. So my first experience with this was just watching it, like a movie night. Oh, we'll just get this one, a generic rom-com. We like The Wedding Singer just fine. So these two are back, and I'm totally in love with Drew Barrymore. So why not? And oh my God, I just love this movie. I love the end. I love everything about it. Even Rob Schneider is surprisingly good.
Yeah, I will say, and I've probably said it before this season, the Rob Schneider is kind of the one negative point in this movie so far, but I have really enjoyed and appreciated this movie a lot more than I expected to, and I did come in liking this movie.
Well, that's what's surprising to me is when I recognize Rob Schneider, because it's been 5-6 years since I've seen this movie. I watch it, probably once every 6-7 years, something like that. It's like, oh, just this really good little shot of endorphins to make me happy again. When I recognized Rob Schneider again, I was like, oh God, I can't remember. Does he suck? And then we go through and it's like, oh no, he's kind of pretty good.
Yeah, he has some good points and some bad points, for sure.
Oh, I'm interested in talking about that. Like, I mean, it's not really part of the minute, but before we get started on our whole 16 seconds here, what are the just give me a rundown. It can just be a bullet point even. What are the bad points of the Rod Schneider thing for you in this movie?
I mean, the biggest thing is the whole Hawaiian face aspect of it, with him playing
sure.
a supposedly native Hawaiian, and the fact that he is, at most he's 1/4 Filipino, and that's kind of the extent of his Asian heritage, and not anywhere near Hawaiian, and I don't know, just some of his like Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler isms get to me. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll laugh and sometimes I'll groan. So I would say that his shtick is about 50-50. Like whenever he sticks the joint in his butt crack.
Oh sure, yeah. Oh my God,
stuff like that.
That's right. He does that. That's right. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I don't know how old you are. I am 53. This movie just hit at a time for me when we weren't aware of things like cultural appropriation,
Mm-hmm.
and so it didn't like wasn't part of the enjoyment or not scale of movies at the time in 2004. If I saw it today with fresh eyes, it would probably be pretty cringy. And I can totally...
Yeah, it was like right on the cusp, I think.
Right. In 2004, well, I think that kind of happened about 2013, 2012, where we started to sort of wake up and become aware of that stuff. Anyway, that's when it was for me. But that's beside the point. The point I'm making is it didn't ruin it for me at the time, and so it kind of like grandfathered itself in my good feelings about this movie going forward. It's like, oh yes, I totally acknowledge that. That's pretty cringy now, but at the time that wasn't part of the. It didn't take away from it for me. 2004, 20 years ago. Oh.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite. It wasn't quite. Ted Danson in blackface. It wasn't quite that bad.
Right. Well, I don't know. He had Whoopi Goldberg's permission, so whatever.
Yeah, and for the record, you have just 10 years on me. I'm 43.
Okay. So you probably, as a younger person, kind of became aware of it slightly earlier than me. It was like, come along, old man. Let me tell you about cultural appropriation. And I'm like, what? Oh, God, that is actually kind of a yucky thing. Anyway, here we are. 20 years later after this movie was made, Rob Schneider hamming it up with Adam Sandler, doing the Rob Schneider and Adam Sandler thing. At least it isn't that... I think what I appreciated about Rob Schneider in this movie is that he wasn't merely just doing the thing that he does. What's that line?
You can do it!
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
And it's funny, I know the line, but I'm not sure if I've ever... I feel like I've missed all the movies where he actually says that line in that way.
It's pretty easy to do if you avoid Rob Schneider movies, which is not a bad policy.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and jump into this week's dates? And this is really the kind of just jumping into the first kiss montage. We had the last scene, got our first kiss, and so this is our second.
Oh, breaks my heart. I just want to talk about that for 1 second. That's my first cry part of the movie. It's like, oh my God, look at these two just like this is working out, and it didn't feel stupid or forced at all. It was just, she's looking, oh my God, after the heartbreak of the day she's had, she's looking at the tree and how it's healing. I don't know, just everything about it. But you probably talked about it last week. So off to the lighthouse we go.
Yeah. So what do you think about this whole first kiss montage? And this is the second of our repeated, and I do like that it's not 100% repeated because I believe in last week she said there's nothing better than or nothing beats a first kiss. And in this one, she says there's nothing like a first kiss. So just slightly mixing it up.
Right. Well, there's a couple things going on here. I'm going to say something that may either reveal me to be dumb or definitely probably against the professional Hollywood screenwriter grain out there. I think this movie is no, I'm going to say this movie is, to me, well written. I like the fact that she doesn't say the same thing over and over again, that they really make her a real character. It isn't just that she's just a robot on repeat. She's a real person who has real things and feels different things at different times and expresses things differently at different times.
Yeah, I like that as well. This isn't like her living her own personal Groundhog Day where she does the exact same thing at the exact same time. They do show that there is this variation. It depends on her mood, her body chemistry, what's the weather. Every day is a little bit different, even though at least, before the videotape, her day did always consist of hitting the same beats, but she would hit those beats in different ways every day. Yeah, but like she would paint a completely different mural every day. Her Waffle House would be completely different each day. So there's always variations.
Right. She does. It isn't just like the movie Next, where you just figure out the right combination and then it works out that way the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
How much? So you mentioned Groundhog Day, and I've been reading a lot of Groundhog Day things and essays while I was kind of thinking about this movie over the last couple of weeks. I don't really think it is Groundhog Day-ish. I think people compare it to that because that's an easy thing to go to. That's not really what's going on.
No, I just use that as partially as an excuse to cover this movie, because my explanation is that for at least in the first half of the movie, Lucy is kind of living her own Groundhog Day, where she's repeating the same thing every day, but then the world around her changes every day. It's like a reverse Groundhog Day.
Right, and that's not a criticism of you calling it that. There's just so much commentary out there that does compare it to Groundhog Day. It's like, if she's in a groundhog loop, the gods that are controlling it are just her dad and her brother and her friends, just making it easy.
Yeah.
Not trying to control her.
Yeah, I think it's better to look at this as a treatise on disability and how people handle disability.
Yeah. Because when you think about it, I don't know how many times you've had this discussion. What would you do, if just your loved one, your sister, your wife, your mom, whatever, had this kind of injury? God, what would you do? The kind thing at first seems to be exactly what they're doing. Paint the wall every day.
Yeah, just basically just pretend it doesn't exist, or for them, pretend to them that it doesn't exist, so that they feel like they're living a normal existence, even though you, in actuality, you are like bending over backwards to do all these things for them to make how you think life easier for them.
Right, but here's what I'm thinking about that. As much as they love her, there's a scene later on where I'm not going to say why or anything, but they end up letting her go to an institute, and that's all I'm gonna spoil. But I think if we're talking about disability, like I have a friend who has a son that is like pretty autistic, and she for a time needed to have him go to a facility because she couldn't be sane anymore and deal with him. And they're back together now. He matured a little bit, so he's not that grown up in a little kid body. That was the problem. But I think if you are not yourself growing with the disabled person, you're just driving yourself crazy, and eventually you're going to end up resenting. Like I can see a future. Like it's been fun. It was fun in games. Well, at first it was hard to adjust, and then it was fun in games, and now you can tell by their reaction every night that it's getting old. get really tired of it.
Mm.
Their whole life, they've got to live their whole life for her, and they're going to end up resenting. And
Yeah.
I can see a future where no matter how much they love her, they just let her wake up and freak out every day. And, it becomes a horrible future for Lucy eventually,
Mm.
because there's no way they can sustain that. It's like Henry said, when she wakes up in 10 years and she's aged 10 years, what are they going to do? Like, they don't really have a plan going forward. And I guess that's
Right.
all of that's just inspired by you saying it's a treatise on disability. You were obviously going somewhere too. I'd like to hear about that.
I mean, I've talked about it before, but just in short, I think that this movie handles it very well in terms of like giving her the ability to regain her life, and especially with the whole concept of the videotape. And it's like giving her the ability to live close to a normal life, working around her disability rather than either fixing her disability, which happens in a lot of movies, or pretending her disability doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that she does get to grow. It isn't just them solving a problem, but it's essentially that's one of the things about this movie, I guess. She solves her own problem. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have her problem solved for her. She is the one that's in charge of her life. She decides she's breaking up with him. She decides she's going to an institute. Everything is her. Once she is in control of it, that's when she starts to take control of her life, and everybody becomes happy.
Yeah, and there was a line last week that was perfect. Whenever Henry was after she watched the video, and he's like, we can show her this video every single day, and then her dad is like, we'll let her decide. And that
Right.
is really the important part of this movie, and I think why this movie works really well.
Yeah, and that's one of my notes too. Dad and brother aren't just two-dimensional characters that are trying to be the comedic foil all the time, but just being mean to Henry. They're like, okay, they're just like real people. They're just like you and me. It'd be like, okay, this guy's gonna just keep going around. We can't just beat him up.
Hmm.
Determined to be part of the family for now. Let's see how it works. I mean, she likes him day after day, and she sings every time she has a day with him, and that's something that's real. We recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
then this date that we see, I mean, we only see, I believe you said 16 seconds of it, is Henry took her to a Makapu'u Point light, this lighthouse,
look,
which
you know the
is
location. Sweet, good. I'm glad it's not just a generic place.
yeah. I mean, I just did just a quick Wikipedia search. It is. I think it's kind of interesting that it is known for having the largest lens of any lighthouse in the country, and yet as we see it, they kind of cut to the next scene before really giving a good view of the lens part of the lighthouse. Like, we don't even see the top of it. We just kind of stick to the base of it. But it is also located on the southeasternmost point of the island of Oahu in Hawaii. So this is definitely a real location. It's a popular tourist destination. It's a great scene, and it fits well for where they are located, because I don't remember exactly, but I think it would only be like a 30-minute drive for where they live to come out here to this lighthouse.
I think the thing about this montage, you were asking me what I think about this montage. It's one of those world building things that I love about movies when they don't spoon feed us information. Henry is obviously going out of his way every time here to make sure that the first kiss is at a very memorable and scenic place. He's really making it special for her, and he wouldn't have to,
Hmm.
but he is.
Yeah.
I dig that about him. The whole hyper 80s womanizer bad guy character that they build up in the beginning. I don't know. That doesn't seem well. Okay, it seems like he's using all his powers for good when it comes to Lucy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that I have actually you since bringing that up. It's been such a long time since I feel like I've talked about it that I would say that that is the other negative I have about this film. I think it would make more sense to not have the whole womanizer aspect at the very beginning, because it's like he's a womanizer in the opening montage and for that first woman that he ditches, and after that he is just 100% the sweetest, most perfect guy ever. It's like, just have him be this nice guy from the beginning. Like, just I don't see why they had to have the whole womanizer aspect of his personality.
Well, that would be for me, that would be a thing that indicates, the fact that they weren't very mature writers maybe at the time. And I forget who this is written by, but it seems like they were trying to give him a way to grow,
a character arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a moment of growth, but he grows in the span of 2 minutes. Like, as soon as he sees Lucy, he's immediately a changed person, and he has like the one date with Missy Pyle, or the attempted date, and he's already a changed person at that point. And every scene with Lucy, he's just the perfect sweet guy.
Right. Well, what do you think about that? What if this movie was him just scamming on Lucy a couple of times and being so self-centered about just scamming chicks that he didn't even notice that she has this disability the first couple of times, let's say. And let's say his charms worked and, they had sex day one. But then he turned into a nice guy. Would that have been better, or would you have been able to get over your hate for him?
I think it would be tough to get over him taking advantage of her, because it's like that kind of puts him brings him down too many pegs.
Sorry, and I'm interrupting. I'm so sorry about that. But what I'm saying is, what if he didn't know he was taking advantage of her? He's just a self-centered jerk, like they displayed at the beginning of the movie, portrayed at the beginning of the movie, and then he had this moment of there's something else going on here. And then he actually gets to know her and starts to like her.
Yeah, I mean, I think even him doing it unintentionally, that's kind of almost like not quite unforgivable, but that's a hard thing to come back from.
Okay, I can see that. I think what's going on here with maybe these two actors is the fact that they had so much chemistry. I'm just going to interrupt myself. Isn't it weird that Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler have chemistry? Oh, my God. Okay, getting back on track. After The Wedding Singer, it's like, you're already rooting for these two. They already just are likable together. And you can't remove yourself from that as you're watching it. That's kind of hard.
Yeah, and Drew Barrymore as Lucy is just fantastic throughout this movie. Like, she's so adorable. Yeah.
Oh, 2004 is when my true crush on Drew Barrymore started and hasn't ended.
All right, but I think that actually, this is just a quick 16 seconds, and I do have you back for a couple more weeks. So unless you have anything else to say about this date, I think we're good to wrap up this week.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you for joining me for these next 3 weeks and indulging me for discuss. Again, this isn't quite the. I have had shorter montage clips that I've turned into a single episode, but I always appreciate somebody coming on and is willing to talk about a 16-second scene or less. So thank you for that, and for people who haven't heard you before, why don't you take a moment and let everybody else know where you can be found online.
Oh, wow. I don't even know. Let me check the link here. I should have done this before we got on here. I think it is Curtis Bloes, spelled the weird way that my name is, Bloes. So Curtis Bloes, Linktree, Curtis Bloes, my name. And that'll just lead you to all of my stuff everywhere. Careful, some of that is kind of NSFW.
And I will have that link in the show notes as well, so you can find it there.
Oh,
and as always, And as always, I am Bubbawheat, and you can find me on all social media where I'm at Bubbawheat. And you can find this show, It's Time to Rewind, on all the available podcatchers, as well as our Facebook group, It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group. And you can join that to discuss episodes as they come out. You can discuss other time loop movie, TV episodes, novels, video games. It's all welcome there, and you can also be aware of what things I will be covering in future seasons. And until next time, I will see you for breakfast again next week.
There's nothing like a first kiss.